Last week we talked about by this show this week if James Harden would be on the squad. If we were betting on it, we all thought. Well, Eric and I thought that James would probably be gone if we were to bet on it. But Teja said James would still be on the team, and he's still here. So 1 week later, Harden is still a 76er. And there's been speculation that the Sixers could be extremely patient with this process to the point where some analysts see Harden returning to the Sixers if Morey and Philly do not like any of the offers. Also, I mean, there's been that Michael Rubin white party that happened this past weekend. You saw pictures of Harden hugging Tobias and Embiid, and then I think Maxey tweeted out yesterday, like a GIF from Lion King, Hakuna Matata. Everyone's assuming that all things are all good with all those guys. That Harden's has a problem with Morey and how that stuff's transpired with that. Not so much the team aspect. But what do you guys think of the rumors that he could possibly come back and play 1 year with the Sixers and that speculation?
I mean, I think it's possible. But I said before in a different interview that I felt they wouldn't get a totally committed James, if that's the case. But James is also good enough to still be very successful playing that way.
That's true. Yeah.
So I just don't think it could be very fun for everyone because we still have right now Tobias free agency.
Yep.
So those guys are everyone's, talking about them in their last year. They're going to want to perform in their last year. So
yes.
How's that going to look?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the problem with people thinking that James might come and dog it, is that if there's already a lack of interest on other teams for him this year, coming off a year where he was engaged, what kind of interests are going to be next year if he just does his whole?
I mean, he's going to be a year older, so
that too.
I think, if I'm assuming how James is feeling, it's more about, well, I mean, you all should be taking care of me, not necessarily worry about everybody else.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah, Marks, I did say if he was around after July 1st that he would be here for a while. I just don't see any positive coming from trading him away for peanuts or a bunch of expirings. I think we need to get something of value for Harden, or it'll be extremely hard to recover from that loss. At this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. That's what's so interesting to me. And that's where, like, from James' perspective, you don't value me as far as a contract, but you value me as far as being traded.
Yeah. We like you in like this. We like you in like this range, but any more than that,
that's what I'm saying. So you don't like to pay me that much, but you want to trade me for what you don't want to pay me for.
And you're seeing that a lot of places. Like I read Levine speculation. They brought him up in trade talks, but every time he gets brought up, Chicago wants a lot for him. So it's like you're throwing these guys' names out there, but the moment you're actually talking to a team about exchanging goods, well, we're not that low on him. We're low on him, as in like we'll get rid of him. We don't think he's a future piece.
So from a player's perspective, if you value them like that in the trade, then why isn't that same value in the negotiations?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, at this point, what we talked about months ago, as an absolute worst case scenario, he's opting in and playing on 1 year for $35 million. Like, it doesn't sound that bad. Let's say he was a free agent. Let's say it was a 1 year deal last year, and then he signed a 1 year, $35 million deal. I don't think that many people would be complaining about it, but I think since his name was brought up in trades and people want the next bit of news to come out so bad, now they want it to happen. Whereas I think if he was just a free agent and signed, I don't think that many people would be complaining. They would think it's a good deal for him for 1 year.
Well, I mean, I think it was the fact that everyone knew he could opt out, and everyone assumed that he was opting out.
Mm-hmm.
And the news broke that he was opting in, and they were working on the trade.
Yeah.
So
and then it got everyone.
We didn't ask for the information; they gave us the information.
I know. A lot of the problems.
We never had a chance to assume how it was going to go. We were told how it was going to go.
A lot of problems with all these situations are that we're being told too much. If Blazers and Heat, for instance, were working on a very quiet deal this entire time and not making it so public, and we didn't know all this stuff, it'd be a different story altogether, right? Just it's all being so publicized out there. As far as James, though, I think the only thing that sucks is it's not really running it back, though. We're missing, I mean, not huge pieces, but we're missing pieces off the bench that we had. So we've lost depth, and we don't have the same exact team now. People that love Nurse, that didn't like Doc that much, you can make an argument and say, okay, well, we're getting an upgrade at coaching if you believe that. Is that enough to outweigh the loss of McDaniels, Niang, and Shake? I don't know. I mean, on the flip side, the Clippers might get more desperate if we say we're going to stick with James for a year, and maybe they want to up the offer, or maybe you get like another team to jump in at some point to throw in another player that we like. And I wouldn't mind those either, but I just don't think there's any sense in rushing it. I think 1 year with James is pretty good for the worst case outcome right now.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, because there's a lot of Sixers fans who are kind of making the same point that you're saying, oh, we're running it back, but we're running it back with, guys, McDaniels won't be there, Niang won't be there, Milton won't be there. Look at our playoff rotation. Those guys barely even played besides Niang.
But you're still not running it back if you have to change your bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Niang was a huge part.
Niang played good minutes.
He played some really good minutes when he played.
Yeah.
McDaniels was traded, and the expectation was for him to be there and going forward.
Yeah.
So you can't really necessarily look at it and say, well, they didn't play or they didn't play as much or this and that, because all those guys are one injury away from significant minutes and or starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wanted McDaniels to play more than he did. So
yeah,
you have a guy who people wanted to play more. You have a guy who played really well when he was thrusted into a starting position in Shake. And you had Niang, who, I mean, yeah, he was inconsistent last year, but 2 years ago, but last year he had a lot of big shots. He had a lot of big threes. So, I mean,
he played his role really well.
Yeah. And we didn't replace that shooting at all.
You know what I'm saying? He played his role. That's why he was able to get a contract somewhere else.
Yep.
Because that team with those two bigs is looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because McDaniels nor Shake really broke the bank with their deals. I think what Shake was 2 years, $10 million, and then McDaniels it was $4.5 million a year. Was it 2 years, $9 million?
Yeah, around that, yeah.
So, and Niang got paid. Niang got paid, and you also go deeper. Matisse got paid, but the other two didn't really break the bank. So I mean, it wasn't
Matisse
like
got to do with this.
Now, I was going to say, you're bringing Thibault back into this.
I was saying, I mean, we traded Matisse because we wanted to get below the apron.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay.
I mean, I think it's the years also.
Yeah, what did Matisse get? 3, but one's a player option?
The years from all those guys that you named.
Yeah, everyone was too close.
Sixers might only offer those guys 1 year deals.
Oh, I think that's all we're offering. That's why Reed's taking so long. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting why we want to keep that next year fresh. I mean, is the free agent pool that good next year? I mean, I don't understand why we want to have why we're just banking on next year. For me, I'm just scared of the fact that we're kind of waving a white flag for this year. We're going to kind of have a patch. We're kind of line up, and then next year we're going to go all in when NBA.
It's not a white flag. You just said we're running it back. How is it a white flag now?
Well, we're running it back, but running it back with what, like with half our bench gone? I mean, I just don't understand. Is next year's free agency that good where we're going to kind of throw up our hands like, you know what?
I mean, when you say running it back, you're basically talking about your
starting
starters.
The core.
Yeah.
Top 7 or 8 guys.
Yeah. The core of the team. I guess I mean.
And for the most part, that's what you have outside of, Niang arguably could have been the 7th guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess minutes wise, I guess Beverly will take over a lot of those, even though he's not, he's not the shooter Niang is. He hasn't played the same role, but I guess he will take a lot of more minutes from there.
Yeah. I mean,
you look at Denver. Denver technically ran it back, and they added a couple guys.
Yeah, and those guys were key guys too.
Yeah.
Brian Windhorst reported, I think 2 days ago that a lot of Sixers fans made a joke about it, but he reported that that Daryl Morey has something up his sleeve. He doesn't know what it is, but he has something up his sleeve. He didn't really say what it was. But then we signed Montrezl Harrell, and so everyone's like, "Oh, is this what Brian Windhorst was talking about?"
I doubt it, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. That could be long term. It could be this year. Who knows what that even means? How long's that sleeve?
Yeah. No, we'll see.